Hello guys, this is Paul McWhorter with TopTechBoy.com, and we're here today with episode number 73 in our incredible new tutorial series where you are unleashing the power of your Raspberry Pi Pico W. What I will need you to do is pour yourself a nice tall glass of ice cold coffee. That would be straight up black coffee poured over ice. No sugar, no sweeteners, none needed. And as you're pouring your coffee, as always, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Sunfounder. Sunfounder is actually sponsoring this most excellent series of video lessons. And in this class, we will be using the Kepler kit for Raspberry Pi Pico W. Now, hopefully most of you guys already have your gear, but if you don't, look down in the description. There is a link over to Amazon, and you can hop on over there and pick your kit up. And believe me, your life and my life are going to be a whole lot simpler if we are working on identical hardware. But enough of this shameless self-promotion. Let's jump in and talk about what I am going to teach you today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my homework solution to the homework that I gave you in lesson number 72. But I must first ask, were you successful? If you were successful in completing the homework, leave a comment down below. I am legend, double chest bump. And if you were not successful, leave a comment down below. I folded up like a cheap Walmart lawn chair. Hopefully most of you guys were able to do it because it's really a straightforward extension of things that you've already learned. The lesson in 72 was how to use the dictionary data structure, and then I gave you a practical homework assignment that you were to create a dictionary and use the data in the dictionary to control the color of an LED. Hopefully you guys are posting your homework to YouTube. When you do the homework assignment, make a short 1 or 2 minute video, post it to YouTube. In the description of your video, link back to the lesson on my channel. Then in a comment on my video, leave a link over to your homework solution so I can hop over there and take a look at it. And I look at every single homework assignment that you guys post. Just a note, please post it as a normal YouTube video. Don't upload it as a short, because if you upload it as a short, it's very hard for me to look at. So just do a normal video. Also, don't limit the comments. If you say it's made for kids, it won't let people leave comments on it. And a lot of times people want to look at your homework, they want to make comments. So make it not made for kids, which of course this is not made for little children. It's made for, you know, us guys that are working with the kit, and then we can leave comments on it. Okay, but enough of this introductory banner. Let's get over here and let's look at my solution to the homework assignment. I'll come over here to our view of the circuit. It's really pretty straightforward. I have an RGB LED hooked up to the Raspberry Pi Pico W. The way I did it, this leg is the R leg, and then we have next over the long leg, which is the ground pin, and then this is the G and this is the B. So this is R, ground, G, B. Ground, of course, comes down to a ground rail. The R goes through a 330 ohm resistor. It goes through a 330 ohm resistor to GPIO pin 14, and then ground goes to ground. G, the green pin, goes to GPIO pin 13, and the blue pin, the last one over here, goes through a 330 ohm resistor over to the GPIO pin 12. So RGB, our GPIO pins 14, 13, and 12. Okay, pretty straightforward little circuit there. Also notice that I'm really trying to get us to do nice, neat, compact builds. And you see I like using these Bojack straight jumpers. And then I've started trimming the long legs off of the resistors so they'll sit down on the board nice and compact. So you guys, as you are maturing and we're starting to build more complicated circuits moving forward, you need to start trying to get neater and more compact builds. Okay, so that is our circuit. Let's come over here and let's see if we can start coding. The first thing I'm going to do is create the dictionary. Now the colors we wanted to do were red, green, blue. cyan, magenta, yellow, orange, and then white, and then off. Okay, so let's see if I could create that dictionary. RGB is going to be equal to the what? The dictionary. And then what's my first key is the string red. And then red is going to be what? It is going to be the list or the array 255, 0, 0, like that, and then a comma. And you can put these on multiple lines. I just continue on the next line by hitting enter. And then I have green, and then green is going to be the list 0, 255, 0, like that, and then our comma. And then we go to blue, like that, close the string, and then the colon, and then blue would be 0, 0, 255, like that, close the list, put a comma, and then we have cyan, and that is going to be, cyan is going to be 0 on the red and 255, 255. So we're mixing green and blue to get cyan. Okay, comma, and then cyan, magenta, like that, colon, and then what's the value? That would be cyan would be red, which would be 255, 0 on the green and 255 on the blue. Okay, and then yellow. Okay, I played around with this, and the green is really very strong, so I've got to turn that down. So I can't just do digital rights. I'm going to have to do the analog rights, which means we're going to have to do the PWM, but I'm going to set this to, I'm going to set it to 255, and to get that yellow, I wouldn't put 255 on the green. I'm going to cut it all the way back to 63 because I played around with this a little bit, and 0, and that makes a pretty good yellow on my particular LED. And then orange, like that, is going to be, I'm going to cut the green back even further. It's going to be 255, 32, cut it in half, and 0. Okay, yours might vary a little bit. Then I'm going to have white, and the white is going to be full on all of them, 255, 255, 255. Okay, like that. And then, oh, I have not been putting my commas in there. I've been a very bad boy. Does not count as an error if you catch it before you run it. So we'll just pretend that didn't happen. Okay, and then off is going to be 0, 0, 0, like that. Okay, and now I've got to close the dictionary. I've done a lot of crazy typing here, so I'm just going to go ahead and print RGB, just to make sure that I didn't have an error there. So let's come up here and let's run this thing and look at that. We get our dictionary here. Let me make this where you can see it a little bit better. Okay, so I've got my dictionary there. That looks really good. Let's just look and make sure it's behaving like we would want. So let's do, give me RGB of red, like that. Let's make sure that this is operating like we expect, and let's see what we get here. And we get 255, 00, which would be red. So that's looking really good. It looks like everything's working. I can take that print statement out at that point. And now I've got to import my library. So I'm going to say from machine import pin, and I'm going to have to do PWM. So I'll import the PWM, and then those are the things I need to import. Now let's set up our pins. We said red pin was pin 14, green pin was pin 13, and then blue pin was 12. Okay, that looks good. Now let's go ahead and set the pins up for PWM. So the red LED will be my object for that channel, and we're going to do PWM, the method that we imported from machine, and that is going to be the method pin, which we imported from machine of what? Red pin, like that. Okay. and I've got to close the pin, and I've got to close the PWM. Green LED is equal to PWM of pin of green pin, like that. And then blue LED is equal to PWM of pin of blue pin. Do you see when you name your variables kind of consistently, it just makes it a whole lot easier to program. So try to be consistent in your naming conventions, and you can just kind of get through this really, really easy. Now we need to go ahead and turn those things on. So I'm going to say red LED dot frequency, and we've done this before. Let's set the frequency of the PWM signal to 1,000, which would be 1,000 hertz. Okay, and then the red LED dot duty, and that's going to be an unsigned 16-bit int, and we will set that to 0. So it'll be off initially. Let's go ahead and run this to make sure that I didn't put in any mistakes there. I did. Duty, what is that? Duty, unsigned, unsigned 16. Didn't get my U. Okay. That's why I like to check things. That looks good. Now I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to paste it twice. And now I can just come in and say red, red, green, green, and blue, blue. So now I have set up the PWM, I've set the duty cycle to 0, and so all of the LEDs should be off if I run this. Okay, I run it, there's no errors, and that looks good. Okay, now what I need to do is, in my main while loop, while true, okay, while true, I'm going to come in, just for good practice, I'm going to set up a keyboard interrupt, because that's something we learned how to do last time, where we're going to put the while loop inside of a try, and this will allow us to do a Control-C to exit the program. This isn't really using threading or dual core, so if you just hit the stop button or if you rerun, it works fine, but I think it's good for us to get practice of doing the stuff that we had done before. And then what we can do is we can do an except, and then keyboard interrupt. Why does that not like that? Except keyboard interrupt. It's not recognizing that. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong there? Let me go back and look at one of my other programs that I did earlier. I'm not sure what I am not doing right there. I'm just going to look at this and see if I can figure out. Key, except, keyboard, interrupt. I'm going to copy that. I'm not sure. It looks like what I tried to do there, but over here it didn't like it. I lost my program. How do you like that? I was writing this program and then I lost it. Okay, here it is. This is where I was doing it. Okay, sorry. Sorry for that little, now I did a try, and I must have misspelled something here. Let me paste what I copied from the other ones. You guys probably see it. Okay, I'll come back over here. And I will copy this. And for some reason, it's not recognizing it. You see, I'm expecting keyboard interrupt to change colors. There it is. Keyboard interrupt. I forgot the T. Okay, so you guys, I'm sure, saw that. But there, now we have it. So now when we get a Control-C, what we could do is we could come in and make sure that on the keyboard interrupt, we're going to turn everything off. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and exit cleanly. So I'm going to get this line of code. I'm going to put it here. And I'm going to get this line of code. So this, when we kill the program, what it's going to do, it's going to turn all the LEDs off. And then I'm going to print program terminated, just to make sure that I get down there. Okay. And now just to make sure this works up here in our main loop, I'm just going to say pass. And I'm just going to make sure that this runs without an error. Okay, runs, it looks good. Now if I put a Control-C, it turns everything off and it says program terminated. So that looks good. Now what I'm going to do here though is in the while loop, I am going to say my color is equal to input. What color do you desire? Like that, colon, space, close the string, close the input. Okay, now I'm going to say my color is equal to my color dot lower. So no matter how they enter it, it's going to change it all to lowercase. So if my dictionary is based on red all lowercase and they type it in red all uppercase, it'll still work. And then I'm going to say if my color is not in RGB. So if my color, which is going to be the key, so if RGB does not have a key of my color that I entered, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say print my color, comma, and then add to that the string, start with a space, is not a valid color. Please try again, like that. Close the string, close the print. Okay. Now on the other hand, if my color is in RGB, then what do I want to do? I want to make color, which will be a function we're going to define, my color. All right. Now, to do RGB using PWM, it's not like on the Arduino, just a simple analog write. You've got to go in and you've got to do the PWM calculation and all of that. And so I want to do that in its own function so that I set up that function, then I really don't have to worry about it. I really don't have to worry about it. So what I can do is I can come here and I can say define make color. And then what's it going to get? It's going to get my color. Okay. I'm just going to call that MC, just showing you we don't have to use the same variable there. And so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make global RGB. Now, why did I do this? Because this function needs to know the dictionary. So I need to make the dictionary global so that this function will know what it is. And both the main program and the function are working with the same RGB. Okay. Now what I can do is I can say red val, comma, green val, comma, blue val is equal to RGB of what? My color MC, like that. Although it should be like that, my color, I think. Okay. Now let's run this, make sure that I haven't introduced an error. Okay. What color do you desire? Let's say red Okay, and it's working. It's not turning the LEDs on yet. We can come over here and look at this because we'll be turning it on in a minute, but it's running. Now, just to make sure that it's getting things, let's say I'm going to print my color, the whole thing, and then I'm going to, or that's the one that I want. And let me print RGB like that, the whole dictionary, and then I'm going to print, let's just print red val to make sure that it is getting what I want there. Okay, so let's try this. Okay, and then what color do I desire? Red. And then when I do that, I get the whole dictionary and then I get red. Now, I don't think these things are naturally global. I think you have to make them global, and let's run it without making it global and see what happens. Okay, what I want is red. Okay, look at that. I guess the dictionaries seem to be automatically, the dictionaries are automatically global where the lists aren't, so I don't have to make it global there. Learned something new there. All right, I learned something new. It seems to make the dictionaries global even though the lists are not global. Okay, now that worked. Okay, so now I've got a red value, a green value, and a blue value. Now to turn those things on, what I have to do is set the duty cycle. So red LED dot duty underscore unsigned 16-bit. And then what do I have to do? Well, first of all, I know that this command wants an int, and I'm going to be doing some math that won't give me an int, so I've got to make sure that what's inside here I turn to an int. And how does the duty cycle work? 100% duty cycle is 65,535. And so everything needs to be scaled by 65,535. So 65,535 would be 100% duty cycle, that's full on, and 0 would be a 0% duty cycle, and everything needs to scale between there. And so what I would do is 65,535 divided by 255 times red val. Okay, and now I close the int, I close the duty cycle. So what does this mean? If I have a red val of 255, that would be 255 divided by 255 times 65,535. That would apply 65,535, which would be 100% duty cycle. Okay, now I've got to set the other one, so I'm going to take this, copy it, and then I'm going to paste it, only this time it's going to be green, Green, and then this would be the green val, and then I need to still do blue, so I'll come here and do a blue. That's why I gave you yellow and orange, because that forced you to do PWM and not just a simple red val dot value. Okay, you couldn't just do a dot value 1 or 0. You had to go in and do this, which reviews things that we've learned earlier on. Okay, now let's take this and let's run this. Okay, what color do you desire? This time we're going to keep all eyes on the LED. I'm going to say I want red. That did not, I see what it was. This should be blue val. Okay, this should be a blue val like that. So let's try running it again. You see it kind of made it magenta, it looks like. Okay, so now what am I going to do? I need to come down here and make sure that we're down here. So I'm going to say red, boom, green, boom, blue, boom. Okay, now cyan. Now what if I do magenta like that? Magenta, boom, I got a magenta. What if I do a fuchsia? I get a fuchsia is not a valid color. Try again, red, green, blue, cyan, magenta, yellow, and yellow. Whoa, that is a really good yellow. And then orange, that is a good orange. And then what I'm going to do is white. That's a pretty good white. And then I'm going to say off. Boom, look at that. Okay, so guys, what you've seen here is, do you see the power of this? All the heavy work is done up here in this. This is all of the heavy work, right? That's all the heavy work. And then the other heavy work is done in this make color. Now, as we're coming down here and writing the program, it's all very nice. So let's go ahead now and make sure that our let me go down here again, and let's turn it back to magenta. Okay, magenta. And now if I do a Control C to exit the program, what it does is it says the program is terminated, and it came down and it turned everything off. And so that again sort of shows you the nice thing about a Control C and using this try except. It allows you to kind of clean things up as you are exiting the program. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you could kind of take this one step further. Probably shouldn't do this because I haven't really practiced it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, and this I am going to get this, and I'm going to get my dictionary, and I'm going to come over here and I am going to paste my dictionary right here, and now I'm going to save this as a library. And so I'm going to do a save as. Okay, and in fact, let me view my files. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to view my files. And so I'll look at view, I'll look at my files, and I want to make a library in this lib folder. Okay, I want to make a library in this lib folder. So I double click on it so I'm in that folder. And now what I'm going to do, I am going to save as on the Raspberry Pi, and notice I'm in the lib folder. I'm going to save this as RGB.py. Now, I've got to say, don't name your library the same thing that you name your dictionary. You kind of want to use different names because sometimes you can get unexpected results, and so I want to do that. Now, what do? I have this library, RGB.py, inside of lib, and now if I come back over here, what I can do is this library, I can take it out of the main program, and I can say from RGB, not RGB.py, just RGB, import star. So it's going to import everything out of RGB, and it's going to import it, and then I think it should know what RGB is. So now let's run this. Okay, what color do I desire? And I'm going to say red. Boom. Green. Boom. Blue. Cyan. Magenta. Yellow. Orange. And then we're going to say white, and we're going to say off. Boom. Okay. Do you see how now what we do is we have a library. We have a library that contains the dictionary, and then all we have to do is import that dictionary. Now, if we ever want to do RGB stuff again, if we want to do RGB stuff again, what we can do is we can just import the library. Now, I showed you in an earlier lesson how to create these libraries, and so what your homework assignment is to edit that program. Okay, edit that program where you also put make color inside of the library, and then you don't even have to define it here. Okay, but you've got to sort of see that you remember what we learned from our earlier lessons. You've got to take this and make this part of the library, and then when it does the calling of make color, it is calling it as a function inside of that library. So go ahead and do that as a homework assignment. Always just a reminder, when you do your homework, post your solution to YouTube. In the comments down below, include a link over to your homework assignment. Okay, include a link over to your homework assignment, and then in your homework assignment, reference back to this video so people will see what you're working on. And I look at every single video, every single homework assignment that you guys post. Okay, guys, I hope you're having as much fun taking these lessons as I am making them. As always, I want to give a shout out to you guys who are standing with me on Patreon. Your support And your encouragement by supporting my Patreon is what keeps these great lessons coming. You can also help me by giving me a thumbs up and leaving a comment on the video. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, when you do, ring that bell so you'll get notifications when future lessons drop. And as always, share this video with other people, because the world needs more people doing engineering and fewer people sitting around watching silly cat videos. Paul McWhorter with TopTechBoy.com. I will talk to you guys later.